When Anna was out for her morning jog through a nature reserve, something suddenly made her stop in her tracks. Just off the trail, she spotted a bison. As she came to a halt, the animal stepped closer, and while Anna stood there in shock, it gently pressed its head against her. She couldn't believe what was happening. This definitely wasn't normal behavior. Then it hit her. The bison was trying to say something. But what was it trying to show her? The bison seemed calm as it scraped its hoof against the ground and let out a strange noise. Anna had never heard a bison make a sound like that before. It was somewhere between a grunt and a growl. The animal kept moving its head with purpose. Anna got the feeling she was supposed to follow it. But was that a smart idea? "Am I seriously going to do this?" she asked herself out loud. The bison turned slightly at the sound of her voice, pausing as if it was waiting. It had stepped off the trail now, and Anna wasn't sure she'd even be able to find her way back. A part of her wanted to just run, but something stopped her. She remembered how the bison had approached her. Slowly, almost carefully, as if it didn't want to scare her. It had been incredible. She realized she'd been holding her breath the whole time, only exhaling when the animal pressed its forehead to her chest. That wasn't something wild animals usually did. Anna had never been so close to a bison or any wild animal, really. She loved jogging in the nature reserve because of the peace and quiet. Usually, when animals saw people, they'd bolt in the other direction. If anyone ever caught sight of an animal, it was always from far away. This made her wonder, why was this time different? After that brief moment of contact, the bison began to walk away. But it didn't wander far. When Anna tried to take a few steps back, the animal let out another grunt and stomped its hoof. It clearly didn't want her to leave. When she moved toward it again, it waited until she was close, before walking ahead. As she walked beside it, she tried to examine the bison, wondering if it was hurt. Suddenly, the bison moved, and it startled her so much it nearly made her jump. But just as she was about to yelp, she saw that it had only resumed walking. That helped calm her nerves, at least a little. She had no idea this was just the beginning. "All right, let's do this," she whispered, as the bison fully left the trail. She followed, pushing through twigs, branches, and leaves. Before long, she was deep in the woods, surrounded by trees and undergrowth. She and the bison were completely alone. Though it felt eerie to leave the path, she could tell the animal needed something. With no clear idea of what she was doing, Anna kept following. The bison continued forward at a steady pace, and Anna did her best not to trip on the roots tangled across the forest floor. She glanced at the bison and asked, "Where are you taking me?" Her mind wandered. What if the bison didn't bring her back? Would she even be able to find her way? She knew it wasn't smart to just follow a wild animal into the woods, especially without telling anyone. As far as she knew, no one realized she had strayed from the path. So, while walking, she took out her phone. Just 2 bars of service. She knew she had to act fast. Losing signal could be dangerous. She quickly texted her husband, Matty, sharing her location and mentioning where she had left the trail. That way, even if she lost service, he'd know where she had last been. "Sharing my location in case I get lost. I'll explain later. Anna," she wrote, then slipped her phone back into her pocket. Now, with only 1 bar left, she switched it to silent. She didn't want a loud alert to startle the bison. If she lost it in the woods, she feared she might never find her way back. As they walked, the bison would occasionally pause, glance back to check if Anna was still following, and then continue on. It was truly unusual behavior. Though it kept up a steady pace, the animal often stopped just long enough for Anna to catch up, almost like it was in a hurry. At times it even showed a bit of impatience, grunting and stomping its hooves when she lagged behind. Why did the bison want her to follow? It didn't seem injured. She had checked. So what other reason could it possibly have for seeking help from a person? The deeper they moved into the woods, the more Anna noticed the sun beginning to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the ground. It wouldn't be safe to stay out here after dark. She had only planned on a short jog, maybe an hour tops, but this had turned into something else entirely. The nature reserve was no place to be at night. Who knew what animals came out after sunset? What if she came face to face with a mountain lion? She doubted the bison would stay to protect her if that happened. That's when she made a silent promise to herself. Whatever the bison wanted, she couldn't stay much longer. Suddenly, the bison stopped, and Anna halted too. It began breathing heavily and stomping its hooves louder than before. What had it seen? Was she right about predators in these woods? If so, she was in serious trouble. But no mountain lion came leaping from the brush. Instead, the bison kept staring at something behind a large tree, something just out of Anna's view. She stood frozen for a moment, unsure whether to move, then took a slow, deep breath to calm her nerves. Carefully, she took a few hesitant steps toward the tree. What she saw made her gasp. Her eyebrows pulled together in confusion. Now she was even more unsure about what was going on. Why had the bison brought her here? What was it trying to show her? Had it really needed help? Or was this something else entirely? She didn't know what she was supposed to do, and she couldn't exactly ask the bison. In front of her was a campsite. No one seemed to be there at the moment, but whoever had been staying there hadn't left long ago. The ashes in the fire pit were still faintly warm. The tent was partially unzipped, as if someone had left in a hurry. Anna looked around, curiosity taking over. The bison glanced at her, its eyes calm but serious, almost like it was urging her to investigate. She stepped into the camp. Inside were scattered clothes, supplies, and a few maps. But instead of clearing things up, the scene only brought more questions. Who had been staying here? Though the sun was already dipping past its peak, Anna felt she needed to understand what was going on. Something odd was happening, and she was determined to figure it out. Her eyes moved across the campsite, taking in the mess. Gear was tossed carelessly. One of the tents had partially collapsed. A cooler was lying on its side, food and drink spilled out onto the grass. The air was strangely still. Even the usual chirps and rustling from the woods were gone, leaving everything eerily quiet. Anna's instincts were on high alert. Something didn't feel right. She stepped carefully, scanning the area for any trace of the campers, or anything that might explain their sudden disappearance. Then, among the scattered belongings, she noticed a worn, leather-bound journal. Its cover was faded and creased, clearly well used. She flipped it open. The first few pages were filled with detailed notes about the nature reserve, the animals, their habits, and behaviors. The handwriting was neat and deliberate, clearly written by someone who deeply respected and studied the natural world. Early entries mapped out animal migration routes, documenting everything from deer trails to bird nesting areas and even fox dens. The level of detail surprised Anna. Whoever had written this wasn't just camping. They were studying the reserve closely. As she kept reading, the entries became more focused. This wasn't some casual visitor. The person behind the journal clearly knew the area inside and out. Whoever this person was, they had clearly spent a lot of time here, studying, observing, and documenting. With each page she turned, Anna's respect for the unknown author grew. She couldn't have guessed just how mistaken she was about them. Tucked between the journal's pages, Anna found a map of the reserve. Several areas had been circled in red ink, and trails were marked with precise, deliberate lines. It looked like the camper had been following a specific route, maybe tracking something. Between the detailed notes in the journal and the map's markings, it was obvious. This was a planned and focused expedition. Anna's curiosity deepened. What had this person been tracking? And why had they vanished so quickly? She folded the map and slid it into her pocket. Whatever had happened, she needed to find out. As Anna studied the map, the bison nearby grew restless. It edged closer, warm breath brushing against her skin. Then, with a soft nudge, it pointed her attention to a backpack lying near the edge of the camp. Its behavior was strange, almost like it understood the importance of these items. What had it seen? The bison moved with intention, guiding Anna through the scattered remains of the campsite. It stopped near a broken lantern, then at a pile of clothes, and each time it looked back at her as if saying, "Take a closer look." Anna followed along, growing more curious by the second. It felt like the animal wasn't just wandering, it was helping her, showing her something. Its every move seemed to carry meaning. Anna started interpreting the bison's nudges and glances as a kind of silent conversation. It wasn't just curiosity. The bison was leading her toward something that mattered. Driven by its persistence, Anna took another careful look around. That's when she spotted a torn strip of fabric partly buried beneath a bush. Just beyond that, a faint trail of footprints led away from the camp. They hadn't been there the first time she looked, but before rushing off, she paused. She didn't want to miss anything. As the evening shadows stretched longer, Anna began to realize just how connected the bison's behavior was to all of this. The animal wasn't wandering randomly. It was trying to guide her, to help her solve the mystery behind the abandoned campsite and whoever had been there last. They followed the footprints together, and then Anna gasped. Not far from the site, she stepped into a small clearing and immediately saw signs of something troubling. Branches were snapped, the ground scraped and torn. It looked like there had been a struggle. The peaceful setting of the reserve was gone here, replaced by tension and disorder. A cold nervousness crept over her. Then she saw something worse, dark, dried stains on the dirt and nearby leaves. Her stomach dropped. It was blood. That one detail changed everything. Whatever had happened here hadn't been a small argument. It had been something serious, dangerous even. The blood told a grim story, and Anna's concern for the missing campers grew even stronger. As she carefully moved through the clearing, something caught her eye. A small, folded paper sticking out from under a fallen branch. She knelt down and picked it up. It was a piece of a map, torn and weathered by the elements. But it was still readable, and on it a specific location had been circled in red ink. The spot wasn't far from where she stood. What was its importance? Why had it been marked? Back at the campsite, Anna laid out both map pieces and the journal side by side. She compared the torn map's markings to what was noted in the journal. The red-circled location showed up multiple times in the entries, but the mentions were vague, hard to decipher. Her eyes moved quickly between the two, trying to make sense of the connection. This new discovery, the torn map, the red circle, and the repeated mention in the journal, added a deeper layer to the mystery. It felt like a clue, a piece of a much larger story. Anna knew she had to follow it. But which way should she go? The bison seemed to sense her hesitation and began to move again, encouraging her to follow. It seemed to know exactly where they needed to go. Despite the unease swirling in her stomach, Anna made her choice. She couldn't turn away now. The clues were too clear, and she had to see where they led. Gripping the map tightly, she committed to the journey, hoping it wouldn't be a mistake. The bison, as if reading her resolve, stepped forward with renewed purpose. It moved with a confidence that almost seemed human. Its deep brown eyes met Anna's, and in that brief moment, a silent understanding passed between them. The bison would lead. She would follow. They were in this together now. Anna took a moment to get ready. Her phone showed a nearly drained battery and no signal. She dug through the scattered items at the campsite and managed to find a half-full water bottle, a flashlight, and a few energy bars. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. With one last glance at the abandoned camp, Anna and the bison set out again. The bison moved with a steady, purposeful gait, leading her away from familiar trails and deeper into the wild, tangled parts of the woods. Anna followed, scanning the thick forest around them. Everything felt quieter, like the forest was holding its breath. Their footsteps and the occasional rustle of leaves were the only sounds. As they pressed on, the ground grew more uneven and the forest became denser. Anna kept close to the bison, trusting its instincts. The map gave her a direction, but the bison was her true guide now. They passed under a thick canopy of leaves, barely letting any sunlight through. The underbrush was dense, but the bison moved through it with ease, parting the way with its massive frame. Anna stayed alert. There was no telling what else might be out here. During short breaks, Anna pulled out the journal again, running her fingers over the pages that described the bison herd in detail. The entries covered their movements, the paths they traveled, and their watering spots. The writer had captured the herd's life with deep care. Anna found herself growing more invested. She felt like she was starting to know these creatures. The notes didn't just focus on where the bison went. They also described how they interacted, how dominant males kept order, how females cared for calves, how younger ones played. There were moments of calm, conflict, and connection. These weren't just animals. They were families. But then the tone of the journal began to change. The writer shifted from general observations to specific individuals. Certain bison were marked with strange symbols and coded names. The change was subtle at first, but soon it became obvious. Something had shifted in the author's focus. Anna tried to piece it together. The bison nearby grazed quietly, and she wondered why it was alone. Maybe it had been pushed out during a power struggle in the herd, or maybe it was searching for something, or someone. The animal's calm around her felt like part of a deeper story. Turning back to the journal, Anna noticed the writing had become harder to follow. The author, once methodical, now sounded cryptic, obsessive. Pages were filled with strange references and odd codes. It was like the writer had lost focus, or maybe gotten too caught up in something else. Then came something unexpected. Entries mentioning gear not normally used by wildlife observers. Tracking devices, night vision, surveillance tools. Why would someone need all that just to study animals? Anna's unease grew. What had once seemed like a peaceful research project now felt like something else. Her trust in the camper began to slip. This person hadn't just been studying the bison, they might have been doing something more troubling. She shut the journal, her thoughts racing. The bison, constant through all of this, felt like the key. What was its role in all this? What did it want her to find? Realizing she needed help, Anna searched the forest around her, looking for higher ground where she might get a phone signal. The bison noticed and turned its head toward a distant hill. She made her decision. Heading toward the highest point in sight, Anna hoped for a signal. The terrain was rough, thick with brush and steep climbs. She pushed forward, climbing over logs and ducking through brambles. The bison had no trouble keeping up, staying beside her every step of the way. Finally, a clearing opened up ahead. It looked like it could be her chance to reconnect. Re-energized, she picked up her pace, the bison keeping close. The hill was steeper than it looked from afar. Her legs ached, and she paused often to catch her breath. The bison nudged her gently now and then, like it knew she needed encouragement. At last, they reached the clearing. Anna pulled out her phone and watched, almost in disbelief, as the signal bars lit up on her screen. She was connected again. Her phone lit up with messages, most from her husband, Matthew. He must have been terrified. With shaky fingers, she sent a quick message. "I'm still in the nature reserve. I followed a bison. I'm calling the police and sending my location." Then she called the local police station. Her voice stayed calm as she explained the abandoned camp, the journal, and everything the bison had led her to. "I think something illegal is happening in the reserve," she said. The dispatcher took her seriously, asking for more details. Anna gave her coordinates, described the journal, the maps, and the strange equipment mentioned in the notes. "There are things here that don't add up," she added. The dispatcher confirmed help was on the way. "Stay where you are and keep your phone on," she was told. Anna agreed, but when she glanced at the bison, she knew waiting might not be possible. The animal was restless again. Its eyes were locked on the forest ahead. Anna took a deep breath and followed. She couldn't stop now, not when they were this close to the truth. Together they pushed deeper into the woods until they found it. In a hidden clearing, Anna came face to face with something awful. Scattered among the trees were traps and snares, some already sprung, others still waiting. It was clear this was a poaching site. Shock hit her hard. This was what the bison had been leading her to. She moved cautiously, taking in the scene: cages, ropes, makeshift pens. Evidence of something dark happening here in secret. The journal now made sense. The writer hadn't just been observing. They'd been part of this. Then she heard a low, pained cry. Following the sound, Anna discovered 2 young bison calves trapped in one of the snares. Her heart broke. She crouched near them, speaking softly, trying to calm them. "Shh, it's okay," she whispered, gently stroking their heads. She didn't want to move them yet. What if she hurt them more? The adult bison stood nearby, quiet and alert, almost like he was guarding them. Then, finally, the sound of approaching vehicles broke the stillness. Anna stood, tense, hoping it was who she expected. It was. The police and wildlife officers stepped into the clearing, and Anna felt relief wash over her. She quickly explained the situation, pointing to the trapped calves. The rescuers jumped into action, carefully freeing the calves and checking them for injuries. Anna watched as they were treated gently and with care. The calves, though shaken, would be okay. Anna turned to the bison who had led her here. In its eyes, she saw something she could only describe as gratitude. Somehow, she knew, it had come to her for help. Soon, with 2 officers by her side, Anna returned to the campsite. She handed over the journal and explained everything, how the clues fit together. With the evidence and the DNA left at the camp, authorities were able to identify the person responsible. Within hours, the poacher was caught and brought to justice. Anna felt a wave of peace. Justice had been served. The reserve was safe again. As she watched the bison return to its herd, a deep calm settled over her. The experience had changed her. She now understood how closely everything in nature is connected, and how important it is to protect it. As she left the reserve, Anna knew one thing for sure. She would return, and this time with an even greater sense of appreciation.